Okay, so today I'll do another YouTube reaction session, even though I haven't reacted to too many things in some of these. Sometimes I'm just using it as an excuse to discuss Absolutist philosophy, basically, but whatever. So you watch one thing, though, and then it gives you like a million suggested to do with it. So let me try to find something different. But it's a good look at like myopic marginalization as a concept, one of my terms. Basically, you know, you'll look at one thing, oh, look at this dude reacting to Yu-Gi-Oh videos or something that are in his suggested or whatever, but everything would be equally arbitrary, you know, if it's a fictional work. You'll say, oh, look, watch this versus that, and you'll take pride in it, but it's kind of like, it's all just fiction. So, I mean, yes, you can say some are better than others, but it doesn't really, it's the same process, right? So it's kind of like, it's all made up, it's all subversive, whatever meaning you find in it is what you find in it. So it really doesn't matter as much as you think, like, right, like you're still doing the same process. So you can say like, oh, this big piece of fiction is better than this piece of fiction, but they're both fiction, so it's still a subversive process. So if you have issue with one, you would have issue with the other, right, just to a lesser degree, but it's kind of the same form of it. So that was an interesting format, though, that I kind of came up with, was the fact of it was the fact of like reacting to a song and then kind of making a scene out of it, coming up with like a fictional, you know, imagery of what a character is doing. Or, oh, this would be fun to react to, but I kind of wanted to do it as a video. Maybe I should do it. I'm going to react to Bam Adebayo's 83 points. Maybe I'll do it here, but then I'll do a video of it too. Because like just the audio quality, oh man. Maybe I should like stop and do it, and then I can always... Yeah, let me wait till I stop. So Bam, I won't even talk about it. I want an authentic reaction. I've seen some of it, but I didn't see the whole thing. Let's just look at some clips to do with NBA, though. Shaq and Chuck get into it for the millionth time. I never heard Shaq like this before. Let's see what he says. Confidence in the Spurs, but 37 blocks since the All-Star breaks. Victor has to play great. I do think he's a little bit overrated, though. People are getting carried away, but... It never once happened. It did go. You were down 3-2 to Sacramento, even when you did win. But no, I just paused it there. But what I'm saying is, like, a learning experience for like a young team, and probably Detroit the same thing too. But I guess they might not even make it as far, or they're in like the weaker East to do that. But I don't know. I find my thing with basketball interesting that I don't really watch it and I don't really care too much about it, but I know so much about the history. I guess there's certain fallacies that come about with it. That's true of both fiction, like movies and shows and stuff, and it's true of like it's true of fiction and movies and stuff like that, shows. And it's true of sports, that you can get really invested and really not even emotional, but you get really invested and really passionate and really deeply involved into it without really offending anybody, because it doesn't really matter, right? The way that other things do. So, right? If you do that with politics or religion or something, then people get offended and in their feelings. Whereas with this, like, oh, they might sort of get upset, but in the end, you know, it's just a show, it's just a sport, right? It doesn't really matter. So ironically, that's kind of the permissible basis of a contrivance state. Like, you're allowed to get really upset or passionate about sports. You're allowed to get really upset or passionate about fiction, but you're not allowed to do that with politics or with, with anything else, something more significant, because then you might actually do something about it of significance. It's almost like an outlet, right? Or you're kind of passing the buck a little bit, that, oh, let's use this to control people. Let's use this as an outlet to do it, right? That was one of the most unexpected things that nobody had on the bingo card, though, was BAM doing that. What else do we have here? It kind of shows you in a singular sense, right? That's how you can't look at things. It's not always the best players who always do that. Although I guess at that point it kind of is. But, one guy can have one night where, I think of like Jamal Crawford, not that he did, but he could have had a night where he had like 70 points or something crazy. You get really hot or something. This is my problem. I just don't even know what to watch, right? I should watch an actual straight up series or like a movie. I was going to watch Send Help, but I haven't been in the mood really, so let me just discuss random stuff, I guess. But yeah, that burden of consequence thing is a big thing. Or like even the way you express yourself, it's part of my superficiality protest. The idea that, you would basically, you'll express yourself in insignificant ways that don't have any impact on your life and define and associate your identity with that, with your piercings, with your clothing, with your lipstick, with your nail polish, with your whatever it is, right? Things that are not actually relevant to anything. They don't have any impact. So you use that as an outlet. So take those things away. Everybody dresses bland or boring. Everybody's a nudist colony. Right now, you would have to define yourself in a way that's actually impactful, right? You'd have that sort of open void of passion that you otherwise find those outlets for. Or here's an interesting concept that comes up like with neutrality. Neutrality as a false negative, even though it's not. Or somebody could be perfectly at peace and content and neutral, but that's seen as negative because they're part of a subversive contrivance state that requires constant overcompensation and reinforcement, right? So undue positive emphasis, pretense, overcompensation arbitrarily, which could reinforce any contrivance state. So just because they don't do that doesn't mean it's negative. Or even like, here's a better example with amalgam theory. You could be neutral. So like, suppose you're a proponent of amalgam theory and you treat everybody the same and you value all human beings all across the world exactly, they're part of your family and that you value them the same. It's not that you be cold or indifferent or negative to people around you. It's that you're treating them the same way effectively that you treat everybody else who's part of your family and that you care about all around the world. That you're not giving them any special treatment just because they happen to be in a close proximity to you. You care just as much about everybody else everywhere. So therefore, you're not placing any special emphasis on the people who happen to be in front of you, right? Based on non-base self, nearness postulate. And so there's one important thing you should realize about society, right? Or a contrivance state. It's not credible, right? So it's artificial, construct. It has a lot of incentives. The goal is to create this mass-produced lowest common denominator, not the highest quality of anything, right? Everything mass-produced suffers in quality for it, whether it be public education, whether it be fast food, whether it be anything, right? Manufactured, etc., etc. So the point is that that's what you're controlled by. So this is what an absolutist would do when they're young. Like they would bite their tongue because they know they're subject to unqualified empirical authority, but that doesn't validate it. It's like, okay, I'm looking at that and I say, you would say that, like, okay, I know that I'm subject to this unqualified empirical authority, but I see through it. I see you. I see the truth of it. So I'm not going to, I'll bite my tongue for now, but it doesn't change the objective reality. It doesn't change with the nature of the process, right? That's the difference, is you're weary of that. You're aware of that. You're not going to let that define your reaction to contrivance. Isn't going to define you. It's a tolerance. It's a forced kind of trained, compelled state, which, I'm trying to think of a better way to explain it, basically, but it's like it'll always be framed against the individual. The emperor has no close fallacy. Everything's perfect, but it's your fault for thinking about it, or oh, it's some mental issue, or this or that. But face the observational basis directly. The cognitive dissonance, which even people who would indignantly insist upon the contrivance state would exhibit, that they need folly, favoritism, distraction, subversion, they need overcompensation, they need this, that. So all these prerequisites are necessary to maintain this false absolute state. All these things that indicate inconsistencies with the false absolute pretense is used as a basis of control. So the thing that I would point out there is the fact that basically what you do is you look at the long form postulate, and you also look at one other of my concepts that how would I explain it? Basically, this way of looking at it is you would have this objective observational basis, and it's like it wouldn't be. It's not something that society wants to address, right, or think about or observe. And in fact, society is designed almost to counter thought and undermine it at every turn. And so what that means is that you're basically in a position to basically, it doesn't matter, right? It could be the objective reality and truth, but it doesn't matter. People don't want that. People want some myopic selective thing that reinforces their own state that they can use to their advantage, whatever. So they don't want the truth. They can't handle the truth. So it's not a fault. It's not like, oh, it's your fault for doing that, or that somehow discredited or validated or credible in such a way that, right, it's all subjective, it's all arbitrary. So the thing is that I like how some of these sessions do just turn into that, right? Like, which am I using as which? I'm using absolutist philosophy as a pretense to react to stuff, or I'm using something else, the folly favoritism as a pretense to do absolutist philosophy. Like, I'm using one as a pretense for the other, basically. And so I don't know. I'm not feeling particularly keen on reacting to anything. I have to go in with like a plan, right? I'm gonna react to this exact video or these videos, or I'm gonna have this plan and this movie and stuff like that. Right then, that tends to work out a little better. But if you're just doing it kind of blind, then I'm not so sure. But again, it's like thinking about something or being aware of the nature of a process, that's somehow treated as a negative, even though if people practice a process, it's fine, right? Regardless of what that process is. But if they were to observe that process, they would have issue with it. Or if they were to observe that process, someone else doing that, they would make fun of it or have issue with it. But if they're doing it themselves, they're not aware because, oh, your eyes look outward, not inward. But if you're objective and self-aware, so it's like, oh, you're self-conscious or this or that. But if it's the same process, so either it's a good process and you like it, or it's not and it's bad. Either way, it's the same process that's happening. So are you concerned with truth, or are you concerned with perception, like how it appears or whether you're aware of it or not, right? That shouldn't be the defining factor, whether somebody exploits your awareness or bypasses it or whatever. That shouldn't be the defining, dictating factor. It should come down to, okay, this is the nature of the process. This is what's actually happening. Do you have a problem with it or don't you, right? Regardless of anything else. And so that's the uncanny valley thing, is like, somebody could be aware of the nature of the process and they're always thinking and they're always self-aware, which is the defining trait of humanity and so forth. That would be the negative. Like, oh, it's the fact that they're aware that's negative, not the fact that of the process itself, right? So again, two people could do the exact same thing, but one of them did it in a way that bypasses your awareness and critical thinking, and one of them does it in a way that makes you aware of the nature of the process. And so the negative isn't the process, which is the same in both cases. The negative is, the one who doesn't bypass your awareness, the one who makes you aware of it. So it's like the uncanny valley thing. If you see the same thing in a way that makes you aware of it, that's bad, right? So there's something wrong with that. It shouldn't matter. So you're basically saying, okay, it matters how it's presented to you is what matters, not what is actually the reality. And that's kind of how RBO protocol works that I talk about. Is like, so society just has to be carefully curated in such a way that controls your awareness, not so it doesn't matter then what the reality actually is, right? It just matters how it's presented to you, right? It's like when you see something, that's fake, but it's the same thing. So like, what do you mean it's fake? Like, so somebody who's initial, like limited myopic scope framing, like not self-aware, that makes it genuine because they don't think about it. So they'll treat that as absolute, specified, limited, whatever, right? They're a human function basically, and their immediate physical reality is everything. So then they'll insist upon it. Whereas the they'll insist upon it, but it's like, versus, you're aware of the nature of the process, so you don't insist upon it even though you're subject to it and present there physically. It's like, do you reduce the infinite objective mind to the limited narrow physical state? And it's kind of like, right, one would be sort of a net positive because you can still do the same process, but you can at least be aware of it. So you're really criticizing the awareness or the willingness to think about it. Right, and so you end up in this endless arbitrary loop of like, again, the superficial initial basis, like, okay, how can we present this, frame this better or worse? How can we, we get fixated on all these superficial idiosyncrasies and stuff. You'll always be trapped in doing that then, because there's no end point. Like, okay, you end up perfect with absolutely no idiosyncrasies and no this or that, but then so what? Like, it doesn't accomplish anything. Instead of realizing, okay, you're aware of the nature of the process, so those things are universal and they don't really matter, right? And so now let's focus on something that actually does. But everything is very selective, right? So that's how society operates, or whatever. People, like, it'll always be like the pretense of a standard, but then it'll be used selectively to justify one specific thing, one specific, whatever that somebody's doing. right? So it's just odd, because that's the difference between, it's like the difference between, this is how social contrivance works. The difference between being genuine or fake is playing dumb or being dumb. So if you're actually dumb and you're egotistical and everything superficial initial basis, that's a good thing. But if you're aware of the nature of the process and you just kind of play along and appease it, but you know that there's more to reality than that, and you're aware of the nature of the process and everything, that's somehow a bad thing, right? It's sort of specified and personalized, like that's your fault for being aware of it, not the nature of the process itself for existing. So by being neutral, you're not doing anything, right? You're not doing anything negative. By being neutral, you reflect the nature of the process, but somehow that's your fault, right? Not just, you reveal what the nature of the process actually is that's going on by simply not overcompensating for it, whatever social contrivance. So by being neutral, you reveal the nature of the process, and then that's somehow your fault. It's specified to you, it's projected to you, you're the problem, not that you just reveal the process. It's kind of like the selective awareness, right? Social contrivance works as anti-thought that way. So somebody who's like, who doesn't talk much, like, now people will be aware of every little thing they do, right? Whereas somebody who does talk could be just doing the same thing or doing something worse, but because they're using social contrivance, appeal to ego, whatever, bypass critical thinking, now it seems like now they're not as aware of that same process. So you're kind of distracting people and exploiting people that way, in a way that shouldn't be necessary if it's a sound process. So it's often necessary in an overextended sense. That's kind of the tokenism that's used by corporations in rule by omission protocol. We're like, there's this nice little lady at the cash register, so therefore you're not going to give her a hard time, even though she's put there for that exact reason, that there's all these issues that you would have with the corporation, with the prices are too high, this is wrong, that's wrong, but they're out of sight, out of mind, so you would take it out on the poor old lady, or you wouldn't, but that's, so they're using that kind of, so I don't feel too good today. I want to do like a really long stream one of these times, like to see how that goes. But like, so I can, watch a movie after this now. But the good thing, it just takes a while to get used to it. Something I never would have guessed. Idling, I guess I could turn my car off too, because the battery has nothing to do with the car. Right, the battery is just standalone, so it doesn't even have to be on. But apparently idling in your car is worse than driving it, which seems stupid. Idling should be, or there should be some mode at least, especially with modern cars, that it barely takes up any gas, it barely does anything to it. But apparently, if you idle for too long, that's a bad thing, because cars aren't meant to do that, and it can mess up the engine over time, or it's like, it burns gas at a pretty decent rate too. It's like, you would think idling would be very harmless to it, but no, that's the problem of overextension in general in society. It's kind of like, the machination process is used to control you. That's the whole double meaning of the machination process, but it's a situation where I don't know. Why does everything look closed over here? It's only 8 o'clock. I guess I don't typically go by here at this time, but I mean, but no, that's what I was thinking. I could like show off certain, it's like, I don't want to walk around and do stuff IRL. It seems kind of awkward, but there could be some way I can demonstrate things. Like, okay, I'll go to a restaurant I've never been to before and review the food. So I'll go there, I'll kind of show the outside of it. Then I'll go walk inside, get the food, then come in my car and eat it and review it. Right? Like, that's the kind of IRL stuff I wouldn't mind doing. But I don't want to do like the weird cringy stuff of like, I'm going to actually walk in there and be talking on my phone and even if I was a big creator, I still wouldn't want to do that. Like, I'm iShow Speed and I get to do that. I go to Japan and I make a big spectacle at Japanese KFC or something, and it's like, that's fine. like I've seen that video and people are telling him to be quiet. It's like, it's kind of odd because it's rules for thee, not for me kind of a thing. If I tried to do that or anybody else tried to do that, right, it wouldn't necessarily fly. But with him, he can get away with it because he's a big, whatever. So, big streamer. So, it's just, I don't know, I find that stuff kind of odd. Whereas, again, sitting in your car and doing it, you're not bothering anybody, so, that's fine. That's the difference. So, like, I'm too respectful of other people, or I defer too much, or I'm too aware of the nature of the process. If I'm aware of the nature of the process, I account for it. That doesn't mean I vouch for it or validate it. So should I do that? If I get one viewer, I'll do it. But I keep getting one viewer and then they probably leave, kind of a thing. Maybe I could react to send help right now, but the only problem with those reactions I've done is the timestamp keeps getting messed up somehow. I don't know why. Like, it'll stutter for a second here or there, which that's kind of an important thing to do, especially when I don't have any like visual feedback for the timestamp for you. But this is a good way to do it. Like, I'm using this phone to stream, but then I'm watching the movie on my other phone, so it doesn't conflict. It's not like I have to show anything on here. Right, I guess I could theoretically let the audio play like low in the background so you can hear it, but and then they could attack that video if they really want it, because right, they could say, oh, it's their content, and so I'm trying to leech off of them, even though that's not the point of it. Right, but it is their video, so if they said that, like, okay, you have to take it down, I don't mind it. But then again, I'm not monetizing it, so I'm kind of just doing it. Right, so, like, that should be fair enough. Like, my whole channel isn't monetized, so why does it matter? Or like when you criticize something, oh, like not that she would need my help, but like, oh, you're helping bring attention to it too. Or like that's what people would say to Nintendo or whatever. They'll try to ban people from streaming it or something. And then you can say, well, we're helping bring attention to the game by showing it off, by streaming it. And with gaming, I would always say that too. If you get the same experience from watching a game as you do from playing it, then it must not be a very good game, because, watching a game should make you want to do that yourself, because it's an active experience, right? Even with some story games and stuff, you could argue, okay, the gameplay is minimal, but it's still kind of like, the fun of it isn't just figuring out the mystery or this or that. It's actually, or like just watching it unfold, it's trying to figure it out for yourself and do all that. So I would always, I think that's a pretty good barometer, right? If it's a kind of game like a Dear Esther type thing, or Edith Finch or something, the act of playing it is questionable compared to, like, there's almost no difference because your interactivity is so limited, right? You're not really making meaningful choices. You're not really doing a whole lot. You're kind of on rails. So then you're kind of saying, yeah, watching it could be the same as playing it, but you don't have to do it, right? If there's no difference, then, yeah, I should try that once in a while. Like, I'll order some restaurant's food, but then I'll take it to go, and then I'll review it in my car, because I don't feel comfortable reviewing it like that, like in the restaurant itself. Or I could go with somebody and pretend like we're having a conversation, but actually, I don't know. So I almost want to do that. Let's idle in our car and waste like 2 gallons of gas over like an hour and like react to something actively. But no, that's like a form of contrivance validation, where it'll try to take validation from it'll try to take validation from neutrality. So like, okay, if I really just need something to drink right now, really badly. It'll take validation from like the from neutrality, right? Like, so it kind of forces and pressures you to accept it and go along with it. And then when you do, or tolerate it, but then when you do, that doesn't mean you vouch for it. It just means, okay, you know that it's powerful. You know that you'll face consequences and pressure if you don't. But that doesn't mean you actually agree with it or validate it. Oh my God. This is such a life-saving kind of thing, though, this whole mobile streaming and Starlink and whatever. It's like, this makes it so much, like, it shows you something very existentially deep, I guess, that, like, oh, I have this habit and this routine that, like, oh, I want to stream every day. And it's like, I won't be denied that. I could be on the road, I could be traveling, I could be out of state, I could be doing anything in the world. I will still do my fucking stream every day. Like, you don't think that I could be anywhere doing anything. I could be in a car crash. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Right? There is a certain power that shows, that, like, I'm so committed to doing it. I don't care what happens, right? I will always do it. Right? You'll never be able to stop me. And so, oh my God. I gotta find a way. Okay. Let me actually try this. I gotta find a way to, like, shut off the stuff without ending the stream. So I could, like, okay, mic on, camera on. Let me turn mic. Okay, all you have to do is go there. Mic on, camera on, off, and then I could put up like a. I don't know what all this says. I don't know what I just said. What? I opened some menu. I don't know how to close it now. Hot winter all. What is this? How do I close it? What? Effect cannot be used in 720p. I don't know what it is, though. Okay, I don't know what's going on. There's all these, like, filters and stupid things. Yeah, I'm going to use a filter even though I'm not. It's like, how do I, like, put an art up there, though? Like, what if I want to show the piece of art in the thing? I don't know how to do it. It's like, okay, I'll turn the camera off. But then, okay, use Bluetooth microphone, save video after streaming, use live status indicator, camera pro, camera chroma key, audio mixer, remote control connection. I guess I don't know how to do that. I could just leave it on a black screen. That'd be fine, I guess. He's like, yeah, there are times where I should do that. Like, okay, so I'll go AFK for a minute now, and then I could continue, right? I don't have to feel like just because I'm doing something for a minute that I have to end the stream, right? So let me actually do that.